Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr Boyce TV. Here we are.
It seems to me that, if you think about an abusive relationship where you have somebody who loves another person, is looking for their acceptance, looking for their approval, looking for their affection, looking for their validation, and the other person just keeps peeing on them. Like they keep doing an R. Kelly and peeing on them and disrespecting them in every way that they can possibly think of and sending every signal that they possibly can that they don't love you, but yet you still hold out hope. You still hold out hope. And maybe you hold out hope because your self-esteem is so low you don't think you can do better by yourself. Maybe you hold out hope because maybe at one point they were nice to you and you think they're going to be nice again if given the right circumstances. Maybe you hold out hope because you keep thinking that it was your fault, that he had to beat me. He only beat me because I didn't bake the cookies right, but next time I'm going to bake them cookies just right and he won't have no reason to beat me up. And I think that, a lot of times we hold out hope for white supremacy in the exact same sort of way. Like we really have this weird hope, this weird fantasy that they're going to just figure it out and say, gosh, we really did you black people wrong. And all they need is for us to just love them enough to love them back into righteous behavior. Like people really think they can love you out of your drug addiction, love you out of your abusiveness, love you out of your ridiculous behavior. And so I said, I said, go down the list of all the signs of an abusive relationship and let me know if you think that applies to our relationship with white people, because we really love us some white folks. Like we really are the ultimate white supremacists. And now why do I bring that up to start the conversation? Well, because I was watching this documentary on PBS. Henry Louis Gates from Harvard was doing the documentary. Now Gates, I don't think he's all bad. I really don't. I've watched him for a long time. I talked to Cornel West about him for a long time. Me and Cornel were in the car we were together for 7 hours that day in New York City for an event that we had in Brooklyn a few years ago. And I asked him, I said, so tell me, what is your take on Gates? Like, tell me, and we had some private conversations about it that gave me insights. I try to find out facts. I try to understand as opposed to just speculate. And so my conclusion on Gates is that Gates is a guy who has a type of achievement that many of us as black people aspire to. A lot of things that we aim for in terms of assimilation and acceptance, he's achieved those things. And as a result of, his achievement of high levels of assimilation and acceptance, I mean, you don't get much stronger than, in the assimilation pile than when the white folks at Harvard decide that they like you and they want you, on their faculty, right? So that's pretty cool. Good for him. I'm not going to understate that. I'm a scholar too, and I think that that's really great for him. But I think that you have to really stop for a minute from a strategic standpoint as black people and really ask yourself, is that really working for us as black folks? And, is that really, this idea, this fascination with assimilation and symbolism, the celebration of black people on TV, is that really empowering the community, or is that giving you a bunch of feel-good moments that somehow allow you to continue to hold out hope for white people that one day they're going to create enough jobs and opportunities for all of us? Or, or maybe it becomes like the Hunger Games. In the Hunger Games, it was a fascinating story where basically they would oppress the masses, but they would pick a couple of people out of the group every year and elevate them to the highest levels of society, treat them better than the elites got treated. And they would parade these individuals to the masses in order to control the masses. And they would convince the masses, like, look, if you play the game, if you commit yourself, sorry, let me see. My nose. One of y'all told me I had something in my nose, so let me make sure. Am I good? Okay, I think I'm good. All right. I got it. You gotta fix stuff like that. You can't be sitting here with a booger hanging out your nose, man. That's just tacky as hell. So anyway, so the masses would be controlled by the parading of the symbolic success stories, right? And that's what would keep everybody sort of in the game, right? And so I'm going to make a couple arguments here to kind of break this down and tell you what I saw with this documentary and some of the things that really got me going and got me thinking. If you could do me a favor real quick, please hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Please hit the thumbs up button. Also, I'll let you guys know. The May 6th. May 6th is when the investing masterclass begins. So if you still like to join, you can still jump in. You can go to drboycemasterclass.com. That's drboycemasterclass.com if you'd like to join us in the masterclass. drboycemasterclass.com. Somebody type that in. So here's one thing I want to start off with. I think that as black people, one area where you've been lied to is that you've been falsely led to believe that acceptance by others is your key to freedom. You've been taught to believe that if you get the right education at the right school, get the right job, or if white people put you on TV, that will make you successful and that will make you free, right? Because I watched this Gates documentary, and almost every black person they celebrated was pretty much somebody who was validated by white America. Had they not been validated by white America, they would not have been on the documentary. I saw, and so these are smart people, but they were validated by white people. Without white people's support, they never would have gotten what they had. I saw Barack Obama. I think I saw Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, and things like that. And then some civil rights icons, smart people, like Maya Angelou and others. And I'm not saying that these are bad people at all. I'm just saying that if white people had not supported them, if white folks had not put them on TV, if white folks had decided to ban them, these individuals would not be celebrated in the black community. So a lot of what you consider to be black success is really the result of marketing. It's a result of white folks marketing a specific kind of person to you and making you feel like, okay, that's an icon. That's somebody that I admire. So I joked with Alicia. I said, if I convinced white people to give me a bunch of money and put me on TV, I said, yeah, he'd probably be blowing my phone up too, because that's what happens. We tend to want to be close to people that we deem to be successful, rich, and powerful, which is fine. But and then he covers some big moments in black history in a very accurate way. He talked about the LA riots, Hurricane Katrina, Million Man March, the Bill Clinton years, and the mass incarceration that the Clinton administration pushed on black people. Like, he hit a lot of good issues, and I thought it was great. But a lot of those issues also were these sort of very non-essential issues when it comes to black progress, power, and success. There's conversations about Clarence Thomas getting on the Supreme Court and how all that went down. And I'm not saying that wasn't an issue. I'm not saying that Clarence Thomas is a great guy, but I saw all these conversations. I saw conversations about things like voting rights. I saw the presentation of Barack Obama without at any point questioning the fact that millions of black people feel that Barack Obama did not do a good job as a black president, that he did a good job as a symbolic leader, that he was a great white president. But in terms of moving the needle on the masses, on the position of the black masses, there's no study, no indicator you can show me that shows a clear adjustment in black life as a result of Obama being elected. So for example, here's an example of what an adjustment would look like. Let's say Obama said, we're going to deal with it. Not to say that he could have done this, right? And this is where the flaws of assimilation come into play. Obama was controlled by the system, right? Obama really wasn't a powerful man. He was only given power as long as white folks decided he would be powerful. They probably got things on him. They probably go and put a scandal on him in a second. It's nothing to go back in a black man's life 20 years and find some girl that he slept with and that doesn't like him and get her to tell a story that will make him look like a rapist. Like, so they could probably pull things out on Obama. Remember, Obama's done things a lot of y'all have never done. Like, Obama's used cocaine, right? He admitted it this much, but usually when somebody admits something this much, that means that it's actually that much. They're admitting just enough so that it becomes a non-issue, so that if you find out more, it's like, oh, well, we already talked about that. Right? So just know, with him, I get the sense that if you really went back into his life, if you really wanted to take him down, if you really wanted to do a Bill Cosby on him, they probably could do that. I really believe that they could. And so he's probably hamstrung on that. But when you talk about moving the needle, what would have moved the needle? Well, FDR moved the needle for white folks when he put out the New Deal. FDR went out and put out a massive stimulus package similar to what the government just did in response to the virus, where he literally allocated a chunk of government resources to getting the country out of a depression, right? So, or you saw just now, our country committed $3-4 trillion, some crazy amount of money, to getting us out of this depression that we're in now, right? Well, if you really care enough about what's going on with the masses of black people, you can do a stimulus package, like you can do an urban Marshall Plan or an urban New Deal, where you allocate $1 trillion to elevating, black communities across this country. Like, it's not that hard to do, right? But Obama never pushed for that. But again, that is because he didn't really have the power to. I don't think he had the power to do it. And I think that, and so it doesn't mean you blame him, but what it means is that it says, well, why are you elevating him as this significant person in the community when there are people in the community that are directly linked to the community that are really trying to move the needle, in a very strong and unapologetic sort of way. And so when I was watching the documentary, I got to the point where I thought about it. I try to, sometimes when I experiment mentally to figure out what I'm really thinking about something, I said, I wonder if we did a documentary about Jewish history in America. Like, if the Jews were talking about the great things they've accomplished in America, do the Jews have a long list of great basketball players and football players and singers and dancers and actors and actresses that they would be talking about, for the entire, the entire time? Like, would their greatest source of pride be, the first time we had somebody Jewish elected to a high office? Would they sort of be talking about individual success, or would they actually talk more or as much about institutional success? You see, what elevates a community are not individuals. Most of your black celebrities, God bless them, they're cool. I have no issues with these individuals, but most of them are pretty much high-paid employees, right? So you think about the difference between a high-paid employee versus somebody who runs a small business. A high-paid employee, you might think, oh, well, my cousin is a general manager down at Ford. He can get me a job, right? Yeah, he could. But he's only going to be able to get you a job if his boss says it's okay. And if he brings you in, he can only bring in a couple of you. He can't bring in the masses. He can't say, I'm going to hire 10,000 black people. He can say, I'm going to hire one. Or I've got my Negro mentorship program, so I've got 3 black people in that program. Right? So what that does is that creates the black elite, and it leaves the masses behind because there's no sort of institutional movement behind any of that. Right? It's all about individual stuff. Right? Now imagine if he had a business. Let's say he had a business that was doing $10 million a year in revenue. Well, then he could say, I'm gonna go and hire as many black people as I can. So I'm gonna hire dozens of people, and I'm also and I get to make the final decision. And I'm also going to connect with other black business owners to do things in the community that will move the needle in terms of education and success of black people, to encourage and incentivize them to come back into black communities. Right. So, I think that the Jewish community, if the Jewish community was really talking about the great things they've done in this country, they might focus on, for example, the fact that they built Hollywood. Right? They built Hollywood, which was a multi-trillion-dollar industry that employs thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people in the Jewish community. I want you to tell me yes or no. Can you think of anything? Black people, we make up a much bigger percentage of the population than the Jewish community. We've been here longer than the Jewish community. Name one thing that we built that is even 1/5 as big as Hollywood, that employs 1/5 as many people in our community as they employ in their own. Name one. I mean, we got every damn celebrity on the block. We got all kinds of Negroes on TV. We got all kinds of actors and actresses, and I think I saw Shonda Rhimes, and I saw all these other individuals, and Seriously, name one thing. Yes or no? Can you name anything that we have ever done as a collective, as a community, that is on even anywhere near the scale of Hollywood? And that's just one thing that the Jewish community has done, by the way. They've also made tremendous strides in controlling media. A lot of TV networks and things like that are owned by the Jewish community. Newspapers, magazines, stuff like that, because they wanted to control the image of their people. And then also they made tremendous strides in banking. They own a lot of banks. Okay, Tyler Perry Studios does not count, because Tyler Perry showed you very clearly that when he writes a script, he plays all 9 black women in that movie. Tyler Perry literally showed it. Did anybody remember that? When he showed a picture of his writer's room and he said he's the only one in his writer's room. So that means he'll write a script with 9 black women in it and he'll play every single woman in the damn script. Like that's that. Again, that gets back to that celebration of individualism, the celebration of, that these sort of one-offs, right? This symbolism. Symbolism does not elevate a community. Institutional frameworks, institutional infrastructure moves a community. And so another thought. Now, by the way, somebody was asking if there's a scholarship to the masterclass. If you are having financial hardship and you want to get in the masterclass, send an email to support@theblackbusinessschool.com and maybe they can work out a deal or support you in some way. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Maybe they can give you, you tell them about your situation, and we do have some stuff in place. So if you'd like to join the masterclass, and the masterclass, if you want to know more about it, it starts May 6th. It's at drboycemasterclass.com. That's drboycemasterclass.com. So basically you have, I like the word monarchy. It's kind of like an aristocracy kind of thing. Right, you've kind of got this celebration of the black elite. Most of the individuals that are considered part of the black elite are individuals that have been sanctioned by white America. Why do I know that? Well, because if you look at where they get most of their money, they get their money from white people. If you look at where they get most of their power, they get their power from white people. If you look at where they get most of their visibility, they get most of their visibility from white people. Black people might love them, mind you. Like, black people may watch the shows because we too have been sort of indoctrinated into these systems, right? So they'll market a black person, and then black people will love that person and say, "Oh my God, you're an icon. I love you. You're so brilliant." But remember, who's making the final decision? The final decision is not being made by you. I'll give you an example. A Different World. Actually, Daryl Bell from A Different World. He texted me. Yes, I got to text him back. I love Daryl Bell. Daryl Bell played Ron. He played Dwayne Wayne's best friend. Daryl is a smart brother. He's been on this channel. I love him very much. And one thing Daryl and I had a conversation about is I said, why don't they just bring it back? Like there's so many people out here that love A Different World. Like they would support it. They would love to see Whitley Gilbert, Dwayne, and they would love to see Dwayne Wayne and Freddie and New Generation and all this stuff. And basically, they can't bring it back. They can't bring it back because they don't own it. Warner Brothers owns A Different World. And Warner Brothers is like, we want to bring back Roseanne, but we don't really want to bring back A Different World. So, and we don't want you to bring it back either. So we're gonna just sit it on the shelf, and also, and by the way, fuck you. That's another. Yeah. So by the way, screw all you black people, because you have no power and you don't know how to get power. So until you get power, we're just pretty much gonna do whatever we want, right? And so let me lay out a couple of more things in terms of the documentary. I watched the documentary. Again, this is no disrespect to Henry Louis Gates or the individuals that were on the documentary. I think that there is an argument to at least be aware of some of the white sanctioned black history that's out there, right? White folks, they'll sell you all day on the civil rights movement. White folks will sell you all day on the Barack Obama presidency as being the pinnacle of black achievement, which it is not, by the way. Barack Obama was a guy who was able to get white people to vote for him. That's what makes him brilliant. That's what makes him wonderful. That's what makes him great. And I'm very happy for him for that. But that is not the pinnacle of black achievement, because black people as a collective did not move forward as a result of that. The Obamas became worth, $500 million as a result, and that's very good for them. But this was not a significant achievement for black people. You must stop confusing achievement with assimilation. Stop, and I want you to do this, right? When you see somebody and they say, oh my God, this black person accomplished so much, I want you to ask yourself, I want you to say, what did they accomplish exactly? Okay, so they played a sport, and white people put them on TV. Okay, that's an accomplishment that they're good at their sport, and that's really cool. But who's making the final decision, right? If the white man in the back of the room decides to blackball that person, you'll never see them again, right? Or if an actor comes along and they say, "Oh my God, that's the most accomplished actor," why are they accomplished? Oh, they got an Academy Award, they got an Oscar. Well, wait, white people created Oscars. They invented Oscars. I read the history of that. We read in the Black Business School, we read this book called How the Jews Invented Hollywood. They pretty much made the Oscars up. They created the Oscars as a way to keep from having to pay their actors and actresses more money. They were like, God, we got to give them something. Like, let's massage their asses and make them feel better about themselves. Let's create these bullshit awards and hand them out, and then it'll feed their ego. So we'd rather feed your ego than feed your bank account, and that's where the Oscars came from. Okay, so you really kind of have to look at it, because I was watching and he was talking about these esteemed, accomplished black people, and he would show them getting some award that was invented by white people, and I would say I'd be like, wow, you really have made white people into your gods. You've made them into like almost like your federal government. You've made them into your dungeon masters, so to speak, your wizards. It's like you've made yourself an actor in a play where the white man wrote the script, right? You've made yourself an actor in a play where a white man wrote the script. And the thing about that, the danger of that, is that if you are an actor in a play where somebody else writes the script, they can write your ass out of the script anytime that they want. They can decide, look, we're going to make sure you're sleeping with the fishes next season, and you're gone, right? There have been many, many so-called black icons that disappeared from existence, because white folks decided, we don't like this guy anymore. What he's doing is too black, it's too radical, it's getting on our nerves. We're going to get rid of him. And there are great black people who've never entered into the broader black public consciousness because white folks cannot digest what they're doing, and it's okay. Like, I think that's good. I think those are the individuals. Those are the people that I look for. Those are the ones. Like my question is not, okay, I will never believe that you achieve greater freedom by receiving greater acceptance. I think that you're free when you don't care if anybody accepts you. That's when a black person is truly free, in my opinion. I didn't become free when I was trying to, get a job. I was in academia. I was at Syracuse, and I was trying to get these jobs and all this, and bend, twist and bend and play the game, and then, but I didn't really become Superman, so to speak, in terms of being really who I am, until I just really broke the chains off and said, I'm just gonna be me, man. Like, I'm pretty good at being me. I'm not good at being a white man. I'm never going to be the best at being a white guy, because white guys already got that on lock. That's the original. I'm just a cheap imitation. So I'm going to go off and be me, whatever that means to me, whatever that means to the world. And I'm going to find people who can appreciate that. Right. And so I think, so pay attention, right? This is one critique you can lay on the Henry Louis Gateses of the world, in terms of looking at what they're doing. It looks great. It looks beautiful. It makes you feel good, right? When I was watching all these iconic, these moments in black history that have been, put on TV by white people, and these people that we all know that because we've seen their TV shows or their sporting events, it was fun to watch. It was really interesting to watch. But then I thought about it, and two things hit me. One was, I said, we have all this so-called black achievement that's being presented on this fucking screen, and the needle has not moved in our community hardly at all. In fact, we've moved backward, right? Since integration, we've actually moved backwards in a lot of key indicators when it comes to quality of life. We certainly have less power than we had before, because everybody's chasing this assimilation dream, and it can only work for a few of you. If 100 of you try to do it, it might work for 10. The other 90 of you are going to be left out in the cold, and that's the problem with assimilation. Right? And even the 10 of you that think you made it, you actually got what in economics we refer to this as the winner's curse. The winner's curse is when you think you won, but really you lost. Like, you think you're free, but really you became a bigger slave. So a lot of your so-called really successful black people are really just sort of, high-paid, high-profile employees. A high-paid, high-profile employee does not have the ability in most cases to institute significant systematic change that's going to impact dozens or thousands and thousands of people. Seriously, they don't. There's no scaling of a job. There's just not, like, even if you talk about the best, your favorite actor, your favorite, singer, your favorite basketball player, 9 times out of 10, there's no scaling of that, right? That individual and their family are going to do extremely well. They might mentor 2 or 3 people, and that's really great. I had a really hard conversation, with some guys I just have a lot of respect for and appreciate over at the Jordan brand. I went over there and I went to Oregon and they showed me around, and I just respect them so much. But I remember saying, I said, I think that I said, so what are you doing, for the masses of these brothers, these young kids that are sitting in the hood with nothing to do, and he mentioned that they have a mentorship program where they bring in 2 or 3 of them and let them do internships at Nike. And I said, that's 3 people. Like, that's not going to move the needle in the black kid. 3 people ain't never moved the needle for shit in any community in the history of this planet. 3 people, I mean, no disrespect to that at all, but I think that we are trained on the wrong models. A lot of you have done that. A lot of you maybe got that job where you were the only black person and you felt like you were moving the needle because you mentored 2 Negroes a year. Or maybe you got a job, in my field, in academia. I'd see black people that would get a job at a white university and say, I really want to make a difference. So they would mentor like 1 black student every year, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 5. That's not scaled up systematic modification of the plight of a community. That's not gonna really make a difference on a broad scale, right? So I think that it doesn't mean everybody has to do it, right? Everybody can't go to that level, but I think that one of the problems with a Henry Louis Gates documentary is that you're missing the celebration. As you're celebrating the Negro on TV, you should also be celebrating the black people in the community that have achieved some ability to scale their impact to the point where it's impacting at least dozens, maybe hundreds of people. So, for example, as you talk about Shonda Rhimes getting her deal with Netflix, good for her, writing Grey's Anatomy and Scandal and these other shows that white people love. Why not also talk about Jay Morrison and the Tulsa Fund? Jay Morrison, again, you critique him all you want. I'm sure maybe there's something to critique. I'm not here vouching to say anybody's perfect, but shit, you tell me, you show me any Negro that was on that screen that can say, I got thousands of black people together to build one of the largest investment funds in the history of our people, in the history of our community. That's some epic shit. That's some transformative high-level shit. It's a scalable model, right? If LeBron did it, if a Michael Jordan did it and had the consciousness to even care enough to try to do it, it could be 100 times bigger. Or maybe if you took a Jay Morrison and you gave him the same respect that you give a Negro who can dunk a goddamn basketball, maybe he could do that. Maybe Jay could then go and take that thing and have 100,000 black folks in an investment fund that reaches $1 billion, $10 billion, right? Where you can go in and make transformative modifications in a black community. Like you can go to a city like Baltimore, which I don't give a shit what anybody says. Elijah Cummings, rest in peace. But I'm sorry, when they had that whole debate of whether Baltimore is a shithole, I know a lot. I've been to Baltimore, and there are parts of it that are as beautiful as any place you've ever been. But there are some parts of Baltimore that are shitholes, right? And they ain't gonna change. They're always gonna be shitholes as long as you think that some Democratic congressman is gonna make a difference. They ain't changing shit. They're not changing a damn thing. What's going to change it is if you have something like a Tulsa Fund, using that as an example, that comes in with $1 billion in black-owned capital and capital that has the double bottom line of seeing a profit come in, but also seeing black people win. That's what's going to allow them to go into these really struggling parts of urban communities and really improve them in a significant way, because your heart has to be in the right place. A white man's capitalism will never fix a black man's suffering. Let me say it again. White man's capitalism will never fix the black man's suffering, or the black woman's suffering, or the black family's suffering. That's not ever going to work. So I think so when you talk about this documentary, this is the bone I would have to pick with a Henry Louis Gates. But then again, I'm not picking a bone with him because that's his documentary. He can do whatever he wants. God bless him. He got this white people thing down. The people at Harvard love him. The PBS people love him. And I think it's good for him. And he has a right to talk about whatever he wants. But I want to talk to those individuals who want to understand what the solution looks like and just know that this ain't the solution. We could make documentaries like this for the next 1,000 years, and you're not going to see the community move forward as a result of this. All you see are these feel-good injections. It's like heroin being injected in your arm that makes you feel good because you see these iconic people that you love so much. Like, oh, look at the Obamas. I just love their family. Oh, my God, those kids are so cute. Oh, my God, Sasha's so smart. Look at, oh, my God. And I remember when he got elected. That made me feel so good. Like, you're really, like, you're sitting there and you're self-medicating. You're self-medicating from your suffering by watching, all these iconic moments and these feel-good scenarios that make you feel better about the misery that your community is going through, right? But also, like the drug addict, once the high comes down, you got to go back to reality. So some other individuals that are notably missing from documentaries like this are people like Dr. Claude Anderson. Dr. Claude Anderson wrote Powernomics. If you don't know about Dr. Claude Anderson, then you don't know anything about Black history. The idea that Dr. Claude Anderson can write a book like Powernomics that's really insanely committed to the Black community, that is deeply committed to a structured, systemic, collective effort by Black people to achieve real power in America. The fact that a man could write something like that and be ignored in favor of some Negro who was on a TV show tells you where your head is at. It tells you you're losing because you're not even paying attention to the real solutions that exist out here. I mean, it doesn't mean he has to get all the attention. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just sitting there, you tell me, how is it that you can celebrate, Oprah and Tiger Woods and Barack Obama or whatever, or Shonda Rhimes, but you ain't got nothing to say about a man who wrote a book that puts his name on the level of a Marcus Garvey in terms of laying out a vision for Black power that is on a very, very high level. We got to get on the same page with this. Or if you talk about, again, going back to systemic infrastructure. Again, the Jewish community, if they do a documentary about the success of the Jewish people, they're not going to put a bunch of actors and singers and basketball players on the documentary. They're going to talk about their institutions. They're going to talk about the things they did collectively as a community that moved the needle for the whole community. So again, if you're talking about things that are really moving the needle for Black people, why are these elite Negroes completely unaware of things like We Buy Black, where Sharif Abdul Malik, literally as a young student coming out of Howard who really learned business. You got a lot of business school students at Howard, but they don't know nothing about building a business. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them don't, because they don't teach that at Howard. They don't teach that at a lot of business schools. He went to Howard University. He was a social work major, but he was taught to build a business. And he built a business called We Buy Black. And the business is scaled at a very high level where he's brought together hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Black people who are all basically corralling the economic power of the Black dollar and targeting that money like a laser right back into the Black community. If you're part of the Black elite and you're trying to be part of the solution, you should be elevating those initiatives and not apologizing for it. Right? We must, at least as people, learn the difference between symbolism and actual functional modification, functional adjustments. Again, the scaling process. So for example, we were talking about Kanye West being a billionaire. Kanye is in that category. He's celebrated because, a bunch of people gave him a record deal. He goes and raps for white people and he makes a lot of money from that. And he loves to brag about himself. And I don't even fault him for that. You can be as arrogant as you want. I don't care about that stuff. But who cares? I don't give a shit if you're a billionaire if you can't show me 300 Black people that are working for you. Or I think the number was, I think I said for every $1 million a year you make, there should be 5 Black people that say that they are paying their bills because of you. So that means that if you made $100 million last year, that should be 500 Black people in the hood that can say, I pay my bills. Like I made, $50,000 or $60,000 or whatever because I work for Mr. West and I work for his organization, right? The fact that he has a high paying job that puts money into his pocket and takes care of his wife and sister-in-laws with their fake booties or whatever, like that doesn't do anything for me. That means nothing to me as a black person when you're talking about what it's really going to take to move the needle. Now, maybe Kanye has stuff in mind. Maybe he has a grand vision. Maybe he's not aware. Maybe he hasn't thought about this, right? A lot of us don't think about these things because we're never introduced to these ideas. We're never challenged on this front. But, I think you got to look at systematizing. You got to look at scale. That's what's going to be the solution. So I'll give you an example. In terms of what I do, I'm not perfect. I am not. I'm trying to get better at this every day. But think about this. I'm sitting here talking to you right now, and I'm talking to thousands of you. So thousands of people who watch this video are going to benefit from whatever's in my brain. Right? Now, I could just as easily have stayed at Syracuse University and be talking to 30 kids in the classroom. That's what I used to do, and have 2 black people in there, the ones who can afford to pay $70,000 a year to go to Syracuse. I could have had, big success on a very small scale, right? A lot of us are extraordinary in a very tiny way. And I said, no, if I'm going to be extraordinary, I want to be extraordinary in a very big way. How do I find some way without asking for the white man's permission to reach hundreds and hundreds of thousands of black people? How do we scale this damn thing? I put all this time into getting this PhD and learning all this stuff. How do I scale it? How do I have systematic infrastructural processes that allow us to really, really move the needle on black families, right? And as a result, I get messages all the time from a lot of you telling me how you're educating your kids different, or your kids. Some of y'all got 8-year-olds who know finance at a very advanced level, right? And I'm very proud to say that I was a part of that process, right? And so just think outside the box. Let's let go of this symbolism. Let's let go of this celebration of high-paid employees. Because that's not some actor on TV really means nothing to black people. Like it makes you feel good psychologically, but if you take that away, there's really nothing there in terms of actual substance, in terms of really moving the masses forward. And that, honestly, when I thought about it, because I couldn't understand it, I said, we got all these damn black millionaires and all these black people on TV and doing great things and in sports and everything else. Why is the community sitting still? Like, why haven't we made progress? Why do we have these cities that are shitholes? And I believe it's an overcommitment to these damn Democrats. Like, seriously, like sitting around, when I was listening to Obama, he got to the point where he had Obama talking about voting rights. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense that Democrats would be talking about voting rights because they want to get Negroes to the polls. That's what they got to do. They're like, damn, we can't win if we don't get black people to the polls. So the only thing they'll fight for, think about this, they will never fight for your reparations as hard as they fight for your damn voting rights. They will never fight for you to get small business loans as hard as they fight for you to have the right to show up and vote for some white man to get back into office. Seriously, I mean, you got to think about that. You got to be smart and kind of look at what the incentive is. These people don't love you, and it's up to you to really love yourself. And I really think that in our community, we have some people that are really doing the damn thing, that are really changing things on a systematic level. A lot of times when I'm talking to you guys, I gave up trying to get on TV because I said, okay, the white man's blocking me on that. He doesn't want me on TV because he doesn't want a message like mine transmitted to millions of black people. And then, in a Henry Louis Gates, a guy like that, I'm not going to get along with him. Like he's going to see me as too radical, or maybe because I'm questioning certain things, he's not going to appreciate that. He's going to feel threatened by that. But then I thought about it and I said, and then you think about the school system. School systems, again, this shows how little they actually love black children. There are black children who would benefit tremendously from hearing on a regular basis from people like, I don't know, Louis Farrakhan. But do you think Louis Farrakhan could get into most public schools across this country? No, he couldn't. Because they feel that they have the right to control what messages you receive. Black people love Louis Farrakhan. White people hate him. So because white people hate him, it doesn't matter that black people love him. He's not going to get invited to your son's public school. So the internet beautifully allows opportunities for us to, sort of circumvent or to just go around the system, right? So when I'm talking to you every day and I'm convincing you, for example, on the power of black economics as one of the key solutions to empowerment, that's my power play. My power play is, I know what I can do. I can go straight to the mother and the father. and I can get the mother and the father to realize that your home is your first institution. Your home that's your university. That is your first small business. That's your kingdom. That's your castle. So I'm speaking to you as the king or the queen of your castle to say, let me throw some ideas at you, and I hope that you'll consider passing this on to your children so that your family can achieve empowerment. Because I can tell you this, one thing about America that's really interesting is that when you have a black family that learns how to, first of all, love each other and be functional. We talked about that, right? We talked about just not engaging in the negativity and not fighting each other and learning how to love each other, support each other, see the power in each other. But then also they get access to a few resources because they've learned how to create their own opportunities and create their own wealth. And also even create, maybe if you get really good, you can create jobs for other people. Then that person is immune from a big chunk of the racism that's out here. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. I mean, there's stuff out there, right? You still have some political issues, right? You still have issues with police and things like that. But even in Powernomics, Dr. Claude Anderson basically says that if your community has enough empowered families and they have enough wealth, they can control the police department. They can go down to the mayor's office and the city council meetings and change the politics of the community, because most of your politics are controlled by money. Most of the politics are controlled by the people that have resources. So a lot of poor black people get ignored because they're poor and they're black. That's why poor black people, that's why they don't feel they really owe those individuals anything. And so I kind of get a little bit tired and bored with the same political conversations like, oh yeah, so such and such Democrat is running for office. We got to vote, y'all. We got to get out and rock the vote, y'all. I feel like I'm living in that Bill Murray movie Groundhog Day, because I feel like I see it every 4 years or every 2 years, really. I see it over and over and over again. And these individuals are very complacent with sitting still. Like, they're very comfortable with complacency. Like, they're very happy with, like literally, you can look at the black community now and go back 25 years and you got the same damn shit. Like nothing's really moved forward. And I'm just kind of like, well, this ain't fun. Uh-oh. Somebody said no sound. Uh-oh. Can you guys hear me? You guys can't hear me anymore? Okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and shut this down then. And I'll just have to come back. I apologize, guys. Sorry. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. They're saying I muted myself, but I don't think it's going to work. Okay. Okay. Well, I'll see you guys soon. So I know you guys can hear me on Instagram, but they lost me on YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. So I'll put the recording up on the platform so you guys can see it later. All right. So anyway, and I've been talking for a while. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. And I hope that this conversation helped you a little bit. It looks like my computer froze. I'm looking at it now, and it
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.